Hello, my name's David Francey. You're about to watch the incredible true story of Hoppy the Deer. I met Hoppy myself. I spent the day with him at Tony and Amanda's. I left that evening with a feeling of joy and wonder like I rarely had in my life. It was as if a bridge had been built between two very separate worlds that day. This is a uniquely Canadian story and a remarkably close encounter with a wild animal. As a songwriter and storyteller myself, I was thrilled to be asked to narrate the film. So enjoy the movie, but remember, if you find an abandoned fawn, don't bother it, don't even touch it. It's probably doing just fine. If you're worried about it, you can always call a conservation officer near you and they'll come and check on the animal. And so now, the story of Hoppy the Deer.
One long, hot summer day, the lives of a young Canadian couple were changed forever. A month after Tony and Amanda moved from Montreal to Quebec's eastern townships, they considered getting a dog. But instead, a wild animal found them.
I was just working in the barn for a few hours, and I came back up to the house, and there was a fawn literally laying on my doorstep, and I didn't know what to do. He looked weak, he looked dehydrated, and he looked frankly abandoned.
I called him just as he found Hoppy, and he was pretty frantic on the telephone. And he said, "I've just found this tiny little fawn, and I really don't know what to do with it, and I've got to let you go," and he couldn't really talk to me.
The abandoned fawn was weak with hunger and unable to stand, so Tony asked for help from his neighbour, Adrien Veilleux, a lifelong farmer with first-hand knowledge of raising deer.
En voyant la faiblesse du petit chevreuil, j'ai donné à Tony et Amanda le conseil soit de le transporter dans le champ et de l'arroser avec de l'eau de champ pour pas que le senteur paraisse sur le chevreuil, ou de lui donner du lait de chèvre pour essayer de le faire prendre vigueur.
Tony and Amanda named the fawn Hoppy and decided to give the orphan deer a second chance at life. They fed him goat's milk from a bottle 3 times a day and groomed him as his real mother would have done. Before long, Hoppy behaved as though Tony and Amanda were his real parents. Biologist Beth Gardler explains why.
They found him when he was very young, and he imprinted on them like animals will do. Any animal, if it doesn't learn who its parents are, whoever is feeding it and caring for it becomes its parents.
Even though we didn't look like a deer, I think Hoppy knew instinctively that we were there to give him food, to give him shelter, and to give him love, and that he had to trust us if he wanted to survive.
But the couple were aware that they were raising a wild animal and not a domestic pet.
Tony and I were always determined that Hoppy had to be as wild as possible. And it was always our hope that one day Hoppy would fully reintegrate himself into the wild. And that's why we never ever put Hoppy in a cage. From the beginning, he was allowed to come in and out of the house as he pleased. And we always encouraged him to be outside as much as possible.
Tony and Amanda got used to having Hoppy around and began to forget how unique their situation was. But visitors were always amazed to discover the couple living with a deer, an animal normally terrified of humans. People were fascinated to catch sight of Hoppy coming in and out of the house, much like a dog.
It looked like it was a dog, you know. act just like it was a dog near.
It's absolutely shocking every time you drive up and you see this deer on the porch or grazing on the front lawn. It's strange. It's not your usual family pet.
When fall arrived, Hoppy had lost his white spots. And, like a human baby growing up, he had to be weaned from the bottle. He began to eat grass and clover and cedar like deer do in the wild. But Tony and Amanda supplemented Hoppy's diet to make sure he would grow strong for the coming winter. That October, the couple were relieved to see Hoppy interacting with other wild deer.
Tony and I were always really curious what Hoppy's reaction would be when he saw another deer. Would he know that's what he looked like? Would he know instinctively that they were his kind?
For the first couple of months, we didn't see Hoppy with any other deer, and we were getting worried. But then Amanda saw him with another little female deer.
It was probably 3 months into Hoppy's life, and it was a really early morning, maybe 6:30, and I was working at my computer, and I looked up, and Hoppy was coming out of the apple orchard, and I thought, okay, there's Hoppy. And then when I looked again, I saw another Hoppy, and I remember I took a photo of them. I was so excited. I think she was a female, the other deer, and it made me think, gosh, he's got a girlfriend.
And after that, we saw him tons with other deer. We saw him in the far fields, grazing, mingling. We saw him in the orchard eating apples. So it was great to know that he was surrounded by friends, but that he also had his parents to come home to.
For his human parents, raising Hoppy until that point had been relatively smooth. But with fall came hunting season. Each fall in Quebec, more than 50,000 deer are killed, and most of them are males, like Hoppy.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that look at Hoppy as a piece of meat and not as a loving, friendly animal. And that's something that we have to deal with.
Even if Hoppy was considered small game in his first year, the couple took no chances. They made him an orange vest, and it worked. Hoppy survived his first hunting season.
L'avantage qu'il avait, c'est qu'il avait un dossard. Je me suis dit, c'est un chevreuil qui a été élevé par quelqu'un. S'il était non identifié, ben, ses chances de survie seraient moins bonnes.
The pace of life slows down during the winter in Canada because of heavy snow and extreme cold. Hoppy was no exception. Quebec winters often proved difficult, even deadly, for deer.
Definitely, Hoppy would have had a hard time his first winter if he hadn't had Tony and Amanda to take care of him. Because deer's hoofs are small, they break through the snow. They have to have these well-worn trails. And a fawn on its own would be easy pickings for a dog or coyotes or any kind of animal. I would say his chances of survival would have been nil.
As Hoppy grew bigger and stronger, he started to sleep outside. But on cold nights, Hoppy was allowed inside, where he enjoyed a warm bed with his adoptive parents. As any Canadian knows, to enjoy winter, you have to embrace the snow. Hoppy learned to do this with gusto.
Our main source of exercise, Hoppy's first winter, was spent building a really, really long luge run on a hill outside our house. every time we set off, Hoppy knew where we were going. It was like a dog getting really excited when he knows he's going for a walk.
When we packed down all these trails for him to run on, he was so excited, and he would run up and down, up and down. As long as we'd be outside luging, he'd be right there with us.
Once he actually jumped right over my head as I was sliding on the tube. But he took, I think, just as much pleasure in the luge run as we did.
We also built an igloo that winter, and Hoppy actually followed us in. We were quite amazed to see that a wild animal would allow himself to be in such a confined space.
We'd usually just hang out, sometimes read a book, and sometimes just sit and have a drink. And Hoppy would just sit there, hang out, didn't seem to mind being inside, but as soon as we left, he followed us out.
Life became a lot easier for Hoppy in the spring. But spring wasn't without its dangers. Hoppy still had some lessons to learn.
Hoppy! Hoppy! Come here!
And that was the end of ice skating for Hoppy. Once the snow was gone, Hoppy spent most of his time outside.
When spring came around, everything became green, and Hoppy was just thrilled. He was so excited, eating leaves, eating grass, eating whatever he could. He was literally walking on a fresh plate of food.
I share everything with you, except my lunch sandwich. You have your own food. You have so much food, I'll never be able to compete how much food you have.
That summer, Hoppy started to grow his first set of antlers, and he wanted to use them. Luckily, he adopted an old wicker chair as his favorite toy. It was a lot safer than butting people, as Amanda learned.
Amanda came in the house, and she was limping, and I was like, "What happened?" And she's like, "No, it's okay, it's okay." And she was just trying to brush it off, because both of us know that Hoppy can't harm a fly. So finally I said, "Okay, what's going on?" And that's when she told me.
I essentially fell on his head. I was playing with him and I slipped and I fell on his right antler and it went through my right thigh. But I felt sorry for him because I was the one who sat on his head.
Amanda will always have what looks like a large vampire bite on her leg, a constant reminder of Hoppy.
It's not us. We still love each other.
That same summer, Tony and Amanda adopted a second animal, Tiptree, the cat.
We were both very, very nervous to know what was going to happen between these two very, very different animals.
I think when Hoppy and Tiptree realized that they weren't going to hurt each other, they sort of said, why not let's be friends?
Sometimes I think that Hoppy might think that Tiptree is his son because he might look like a little spotted fawn. So maybe he thinks it's his baby, who knows?
They'd lie down on the carpet and the bed, and they actually ended up grooming each other. They really like washing each other.
I don't know, it just seems weird. It seems at first you're kind of like, oh, it's just so unnatural. Like, what is this relationship that these animals have? But you realize that Hoppy didn't have a regular family growing up. I mean, his mother obviously died or was too sick or abandoned Hoppy. So Hoppy had to develop these relationships with other people. I mean, Tony and Amanda, and even the cat.
I never imagined when I brought Tiptree here that him and Hoppy would become such good friends, but they really seem to love each other. It's pretty amazing.
During the second fall, Hoppy's character changed. The mating season, known as the rut, had begun, and his instincts to find a mate were kicking in.
They can't help it. They're drawn by all the scents that are emitted through the woods by the deer and heat, the females.
Les mâles, pendant la rut, agrandissent leur territoire dans le but de couvrir le plus grand possible de territoire, dans le but de rencontrer le plus grand nombre de femelles.
They vie for attention and they fight it out with the other males to have the chance to mate with the choice does.
The mating season coincides with hunting season, and Hoppy was a good-sized deer that fall. Unafraid of humans, Hoppy was an easy target for any hunter, and he began wandering farther from home, searching for a mate. Tony and Amanda posted notices all over town, pleading with hunters not to shoot the deer with the bright collar. At one point, Hoppy disappeared for 10 days.
Every morning when I woke up, I looked outside the windows, hoping that he would be standing on the porch asking to come in, and every night when I went to sleep, I looked outside, hoping to see Hoppy eating apples from the apple orchard, and I never saw him. It was excruciating. That's where he went into the woods right there, and we didn't see him for 10 days. So I hope he doesn't do that again.
After Hoppy survived his second hunting season, the couple realized that his continued survival was beyond their control. The only way Hoppy would be truly safe was if he was living in a sanctuary, a protected park with other deer.
He'll be fed, he'll be taken care of in a protected area. That's all great, but he's just not going to be here anymore, and we're pretty used to having him around.
The test of my love is me willing to give him up and to give him to someone else where he can live a long and safe life.
Once Tony and Amanda found a sanctuary where Hoppy's future would be secure, the couple's plans came to a crashing halt. Hoppy tested positive for brainworm, a disease common in deer. More tests had to be done on Hoppy to make sure he wouldn't pose a threat to the other deer in his new home.
We have to get him tested for tuberculosis and brucellosis. We have to have a permit to capture him. We have to have a permit to transport him. We have to get him tranquilized.
It seems like every time we think we've taken one step forward, there's another law that we have to follow, or another questionnaire we have to fill out, and that's taking us 2 steps back. So it's pretty tough.
The couple only had a few days to wait before receiving final approval for Hoppy's transfer to the sanctuary. They decided to go away for the weekend, but when they returned home that Sunday, Hoppy was gone. It was as if Hoppy knew that this was his last chance to become a wild deer. Extreme sadness over Hoppy's disappearance eventually turned to acceptance and understanding. Tony and Amanda had given Hoppy 2 years of a life that he probably would not have had if they hadn't rescued him on that hot summer day. They like to believe that wherever Hoppy is, he's happy and safe, living as a wild deer, the way nature intended.
Tony and Amanda never saw Hoppy again. But 7 months after he disappeared, Gaten, the hunter who appeared in this film, saw Hoppy. It was the last weekend of hunting season, and Hoppy was deep in the woods, far away from any roads or any hunters, hopefully. Judging by the tracks he saw, Gaten thinks that Hoppy may have had a chance to breed, and that he may have raised a fawn of his own. Amazingly enough, Gaten was able to get some video footage of Hoppy. Have a look at what he saw.
Je suis arrivé ici tout à l'heure et notre chevreuil là, était couché juste là. Je l'ai flatté. J'ai flatté le museau tout à l'heure. Il y a un collier rouge.
Je suis allé lui parler, là, puis il était couché juste ici, là. On voit la neige qui est fondue, il était là.
Il était couché juste là, là. Voyez-vous?
Là, il a resté là. Moi, j'ai quitté chercher ma caméra, puis mon vidéo. Et quand je suis revenu, il était là. C'est justement là. On voit la place où il était couché, là, c'est fondu. Il était là. Il est beau, hein? C'est vrai, il est beau.
Et voyez-vous comment est-ce qu'il est beau? Regardez le panache. Mais il a un collier rouge. J'ai participé à un film documentaire avec. Il a été ramassé, là, il était tout petit à côté d'une maison, un bébé abandonné un matin. Il ne marchait pas. Et les gens l'ont nourri à la bouteille, ils l'ont élevé. Et ont voulu l'envoyer au zoo Saint-Félicien. J'ai l'impression que ça n'a pas marché. Et là, cette année, il est ici, là. Je vais prendre une photo de lui, là. Et là, on le revoit proche de la maison. Lendemain. Ah, il est arrivé de là. Les pistes étaient dans la neige, juste ici. Et il m'est apparu, là, tout simplement, je dirais que j'étais plutôt ici, comme ça. J'étais en train de gratter. À un moment donné, je te fais un méchant saut. Et le chevreuil, il est là, en arrière de moi. En arrière de moi. Voyez-vous, il n'y a aucune malice en lui. Il n'est pas méfiant. Il ne démontre jamais de malice.
Voici notre fameux chevreuil que Gaétan a vu hier. Puis, il est apprivoisé, ce chevreuil-là. Il a suivi les traces à Gaétan, puis il est arrivé chez nous, dans la cour.
Vous avez remarqué comment son cou est gros. Et si on l'avait vu un mois avant, vous auriez vu que le cou était beaucoup plus petit, beaucoup plus fin. Et c'est un signe que nous sommes dans la période du rut. Il croisait des femelles, puis d'après moi, là, il accouplait. Et quand je l'ai vu, là, on était la dernière semaine de chasse. Ça fait qu'on ne sait jamais ce qui peut arriver. C'est possible qu'il se soit fait tuer là, mais c'est possible que non plus.
Gaétan est en train de le flatter. Gaétan est en train de pelleter, et le chevreuil reste là. Hoppy! Viens me voir, Hoppy!
Une autre fois, il est venu chez mon chum en bas, Michel. Et il sort dehors le matin. Le chevreuil, il est là. Il est sur la galerie, il a d'après manger des fleurs, là, tu sais. Le chevreuil, il est wow. Il est pas peureux, je comprends, il est apprivoisé.
Hoppy! Viens me voir. Come and see me, Hoppy. Hoppy, come and see me.
Oh, puis là, on voit son dossard. On voit bien le dossard, là. Le petit collier rouge, là. Oh, c'est beau, même. J'ai dit, s'il revient, il faut que je pose le dossard. Il était en train de manger des pommes et des carottes. Et quand j'ai vu ça, je suis rentré en dedans pour aller chercher mon dossard, mais il n'était pas prêt. Il fallait que je fasse quelques coupes pour pouvoir l'enfiler sur lui puis l'attacher. Quand je suis ressorti, il n'était plus là. Je me suis dit, il va revenir. On l'a surveillé à plusieurs reprises, à tous les jours. On ne l'a jamais revu. Il s'est peut-être jamais exposé aux chasseurs des alentours. Tout est possible. Puis d'un autre côté, on ne sait pas. Il est peut-être encore vivant, tu sais. Et j'ai surveillé beaucoup et j'ai soupçonné, j'ai dit, il va peut-être réapparaître de temps en temps. Mais non. C'est comme ça qu'on n'a jamais revu Hoppy.